Of all the issues surrounding the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter, perhaps the most hotly contested is the criteria the U.S. Air Force, Marine Corps, and Navy are using to judge when the jets will be ready for combat and whether certain milestones accurately reflect the stealth fighter's capabilities. The Air Force has now reignited this debate by stating that it will have fully combat-capable F-35s by the end of September 2017, even though the jet hasn't even started independent operational test and evaluation trials. On August 25, 2017, Aviation Week reported that the Air Force would begin receiving A-model aircraft able to employ its full suite of air-to-air and air-to-ground weapons, including its internal 25mm cannon. To achieve this milestone, the new aircraft would come with a critical new software update, which the service referred to simply as Block 3F. In September 2016, the service announced this would occur by the beginning of the 2018 fiscal year, which starts on October 1, 2017. We now just passed 100,000 flying hours with the F-35, and it is doing very well, Secretary of the Air Force Heather Wilson told reporters during a press conference, also on August 25, 2017. In any contingency, if there were a problem, they're ready to go to combat. Wilson was responding in part to questions about Air Force capabilities to respond to heightened tensions on the Korean Peninsula, where North Korea continues to test advanced ballistic missiles and has now claims to have a functional hydrogen bomb. On August 31, 2017, Marine Corps F-35Bs, which the service has forward deployed to Japan, joined a show of force over both Japan and South Korea for the first time. As we at the War Zone have noted before, low observable aircraft such as the F-35 would be an important component of any actual strike on North Korea, owing to the country's dense, if dated, air defense network. A fully combat-capable Joint Strike Fighter would give Air Force commanders in the Pacific, as well as other hotspots around the world, additional flexibility to respond to crises. The 34th Fighter Squadron at Hill Air Force Base in Utah, a combat-coded unit, is slated to receive the jets with the Block 3F software first, according to Aviation Week. The three training squadrons at Luke Air Force Base in Arizona, the 61st, 62nd, and 63rd Fighter Squadrons, will then start getting the updated aircraft. Still, it's not entirely clear how the Air Force is defining fully combat-capable in this case. None of the three F-35 variants have even begun the mandatory testing process run by the Pentagon's Office of the Director of Operational Test and Evaluation, (DOTE), which is independent of the individual services. What is clear is that this is not the same, nor is the service claiming it is, as a formal declaration of full operational capability, or FOC. The Pentagon standard definition for FOC is when every unit that is supposed to receive a certain weapon system has gotten that piece of equipment and can both operate and maintain it. This announcement is generally only supposed to come after the system passes DOTE's rigorous independent testing regime. The Air Force had already added confusion to this process by declaring Initial Operational Capability, IOC, which is supposed to reflect a basic operational capability, for the F-35 before the end of developmental testing and without any operational evaluations. The service seems to be again obfuscating the situation, intentionally or unintentionally, by using a term that sounds similar to FOC, but isn't, which has already led to confusion in the media about what this new announcement realistically means. This may very well be an effort to undermine the operational testing process, Dan Brazier, the Jack Shanahan Fellow at the Project on Government Oversight, a nonpartisan watchdog that has been highly critical of the F-35 program, told the War Zone by email. All the services have been hostile to the idea of having an outside testing official evaluating their work. I see this as an attempt to marginalize DOTE's role in the acquisition process. Of the three services purchasing F-35 variants, the U.S. Navy is the only one that has not declared IOC with its jets, continuing to link that milestone to the successful completion of operational testing. The U.S. Marine Corps and the Air Force say they have achieved this with their F-35s, and now the Air Force curiously says it plans to declare IOC for the Block 3F software itself once the code begins reaching operational and training units. Declaring initial operational capability after each of the program steps rather diminishes the pronouncement, Grazier added. I'm sure most people are really only interested in full operational capability, as that is what we are paying for. Beyond that, based on the publicly available information, it's hard to say whether or not the Block 3F software package will provide a truly complete suite of combat capabilities. We have no reason to doubt the new code will finally allow F-35 pilots to employ the full range of existing operational weapons the Air Force wants the aircraft to carry by the end of the ongoing developmental testing process. As of 2015, this list of planned weapon options was relatively short, including the AIM-9X and AIM-120C air-to-air missiles, GBU-12B 500-pound class laser-guided bombs, GBU-31B 2,000-pound class GPS-guided Joint Direct Attack Munition or JDAM bombs, the GBU-39B small diameter bomb or SDP, and the GO-22A 25mm cannon. There are now plans to integrate 500 and 1,000-pound class JDAMs in the GBU-49B dual-mode version of the GBU-12. The F-35s can only carry some of these weapons, such as the AIM-9X, on external pylons that severely degrade the aircraft's low observable characteristics. The Air Force hopes its final, full operational capability Joint Strike Fighters, running the still notional Block 4 software, will be able to carry dual-mode laser JDAMs in the still-in-development SDB-2, as well. That being said, there is no guarantee that the Block 3F software will allow F-35A pilots to effectively employ some or all of these weapons. We don't even know for sure what specific version of it the Air Force will distribute for its software IOC. As of December 2016, the service had already gone through 6 different revisions of the update. According to DoDNI's annual report on the program for 2016, the Central Joint Service F-35 Program Office initially planned for this latest code, known as Block 3 FR6, to be ready in February 2016, but it only arrived at 10 months behind schedule. In 2016, DoDNI reported there were 270 high-priority deficiencies in the Block 3F software for each variant of the F-35, Grazier noted. The Air Force's own test pilots rated the Block 3F as red or not ready for operational testing, not to mention actual combat, in all mission areas. It is important to note that what specifically the Air Force had negatively rated was 2 subversions of the earlier Block 3 FR5 software, 3FR5.03 and 3FR5.05. It is possible that the present edition of Revision 6 has fixed most, if not all of the issues. However, it's hard to give the service the benefit of the doubt that this has been the case. As with the Block 3 FR5 software, Air Force itself determined the Block 3I package for the IOC jets was unacceptable for actual combat operations, according to DoDNI's review of the program. This prompts serious questions about the validity of Air Force Secretary Wilson's comments in August 2017, as well as the IOC decision itself and what we can expect from the new 3FR6 code. This is further compounded by the fact that the Air Force says it already expects to deliver a string of Block 3F updates as continued testing exposes more problems despite its insistence that they will have full combat capability. This is actually something DoDNI recommended the F-35 program as a whole do after developmental phase ended, but as part of the subsequent operational evaluation process and before any service even considered deploying the jets on operational missions or training exercises, something both the Air Force and Marine Corps have now been doing for months. Several essential capabilities, including aimed gunshots and air-to-air range infrastructure, had not yet been flight tested or did not yet work properly when Block 3 FR6 was released, according to DoDNI's review. The service's Air Force, Marine Corps, and Navy designated 276 deficiencies in combat performance as critical to correct in Block 3F, but less than half of the critical deficiencies were addressed with attempted corrections in 3FR6. On top of that, DoDNI said that the delays with Revision 6, coupled with funding problems, had forced the F-35 Program Office to scrap its own existing plans for 2 follow-on software blocks, 3FR7 and 3FR8. At this point, it seems almost impossible to assess the true capabilities of any Block 3F code, positively or negatively, based on public descriptions, especially given the sheer number of major revisions and minor changes. But most significantly, thanks to the Freedom of Information Act, we do know that the service already deliberately watered down its capability criteria to meet its own self-imposed schedule for declaring IOC with the F-35 in August 2016. This was mainly out of fear that delaying the milestone any further would become a political and public relations nightmare that could have potentially impacted congressional support and foreign sales. In June 2010, the official schedule was to have a final version of the Block 3 software pass the independent operational test and evaluation process no later than October 2016 and then make the IOC announcement. By May 2013, this had changed to having an aircraft